Welcome to this week's episode of Hot Box. Today we're going to be talking about overfishing, and I'm going to be discussing the causes of overfishing. Number one is, you guessed it, George Bush. Boom! Number two is Japan and China. They fish way too much for cultural reasons. Number three is bycatch, where large trawling nets are dragged along the ocean floor and they catch lots of big fish on accident. And number four is Japan thinks it's okay to fish for whales even though it's against the law. And now Mr. McIntyre will be talking about the effects of overfishing.
Alright, we have a few topics here to delve into. The first I would like to explain is ecosystem destruction. And that's actually one of the greatest threats to our ecosystems because it destroys the physical environments of these fish. That is. Right? And when a fish or any sort of predatorial animal is taken out of an ecosystem, it can destroy the whole food chain. Ben Taylor will be in here to explain that a little bit later. And the next one that I find to be important is the economic impact of overfishing. So certain species of fish aren't sustainable when they're overfished. For instance, we have laws in place to protect lobsters. I'm sure the class will be familiar with that because of the guy who came in, I guess. I don't know. And if you overfish, then it's hard for those ecosystems to rebuild so that there will be enough fish to fish in the future, and that can actually end up destroying a lot of jobs in the whole fishing industry, when in reality the goal of fishing is, for the people who are involved in it, is to make their living through fishing, and if they overfish, then that industry can be destroyed. And another great risk that we have to take into account is the lack of biodiversity of certain animals. And when species are overfished, it becomes a lot harder for those species to evolve, and there's a risk of extinction. And overfishing has been known to decrease populations to a point where it's basically irreversible in some species, and so that can lead to extinction, and that's a serious problem. And now I have our intern, Ben Taylor. He comes from the University of Colorado, and he'd like to talk to you about certain species of fish that's being overfished right now. It's very important. And that's one species that you would think is a good thing to eradicate from this earth, but if you really delve into the issues, you'll understand why sharks are so important to our ecosystems.
Thank you, Professor McIntyre. I'll be talking about sharks.
We got a minute 20.
As large as sharks, such as the great white shark, also known as the Carcharodontis, population decreases. Smaller sharks, skates and rays increase due to the lack of predation.
Skates and rays.
As their population increases, their prey decreases. Nearly 100 million sharks are killed each year. They're especially vulnerable since their reproduction rate is quite slow. They just can't biologically keep up.
I have one thing to add about the topic of sharks that I find very important. Serious time now.
30 seconds left.
Take your time. The reason that shark overfishing can threaten the human species is because when the humans kill all the sharks, then fish populations, there's a big hike in fish populations, and there's a lot of fish going on. And then all those fish will eat the phytoplankton that creates air for us to breathe.